Welcome back to DDub. Today on the channel we're checking out the new Nintendo Entertainment System games that Nintendo so graciously gives us for free on the Nintendo Switch. No, actually we pay for the service, so they're not free. So to anybody who says that, they're not free. It just comes with the price of admission. So that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and check these games out now. Over 1 million sold in Japan. Let's play Gradius Special 2. And I'm kind of confused here because this is the first level. Usually with these special editions, they're just a ROM of a later completed part of the game where it just sort of dumps you off in the middle of it, or sometimes at the end of the game, or even sometimes in the middle of some mayhem. And that's not the case with this here, so I just died. We'll try it again. I'm not sure exactly what the deal is. Okay, we're done with that. Let's go ahead and play Kung Fu Heroes. This is a game I'm familiar with. I will leave a card right up here, and I'll also put in the description. I did a video for the best NES clone of all time. So I did a video on that, and I will leave it for you guys to check out. And this was the last game that I played in the video. And I'm sure because it was like a Japanese console that they called it something else. But I do remember playing this. And I'm not sure if I had ever played this back in the day. We all know how many NES games that there really are. And of course I was a young kid when I played the bulk of my NES days of game playing, if that's what you want to call it. And so this is kind of like a puzzle fighter, which is kind of weird. I could see a version of this coming into today's era and it being actually kind of decent. But needless to say, this isn't really a... Wow, look at those fireballs. Those are Mario. So, those are Mario fireballs. Look at the little sprite for it. So I'm not actually sure there if I was supposed to go down the stairs or through the door. But we're gonna punch some apples, eat some tabs of E, and have ourselves a good time with this music. Good stuff, guys. Oh man, we got like 30 extra points on that one. So I think this brings up another point of interest, is that several months ago we heard that there was a data mine and that Super Nintendo games would be coming to the Nintendo Switch online app, I guess is what you would call it. And then that whole thing just completely disappeared, and we didn't hear anything about it. But people are thinking, since September is the anniversary for the Nintendo Switch Online, that's when we'll be getting Super Nintendo games for it. And although that would be cool, I would hope for some of the better games from the Super Nintendo, which are the ones we all know and love and have played. Things that are basically on like something like the Super Nintendo Classic. Things like Super Mario World, Zelda: Link to the Past, Earthbound, Secret of Mana, Super Metroid, Mega Man X, Star Fox, things of those nature. And what I think will be the case is I really do think that if we get Super Nintendo games, we'll get Super Mario World. And now, I'm not sure if they're gonna drop, like when the NES games on the Switch, they dropped a whole bunch of them. And then since then, we've pretty much, at least for the first while, we got 3 games a month, then down to 2, and most of the ones out of the 3 that they would drop down would be a special edition. And that's not always that great. We have way more special editions than we need, and there's nothing that's special about them, really, at all, except that they just drop you further into the game. And that's pretty much the only thing that's special about them, but there are bad SNES games. And I think what people fail to realize is that we will more than likely be getting some of those bad NES games. I think Super Nintendo, for a lot of people, they just think of the golden games. They think of the first time they saw Link to the Past, or the first time they saw Star Fox, or the first time that they saw F-Zero. And I think they forget, even though you shouldn't forget because this stuff is right here in front of us, that with the NES offerings, we would get a good one here and there, and for the past probably 4 or 5 months that has just not been the case. Most of these games aren't really worth a damn, you could say. For some people, sure, And for plenty of people that would say, sure, I'm sure that nostalgia would play a factor, because a game like this doesn't really resonate with me. I don't really, I guess, care to ever play this game again, but I'm sure that there's some kids out there that when they were little, this is what they played, so they have an attachment to it. And I think that people are going to be a little bit surprised, even though they shouldn't be, because we see how Nintendo has handled the NES games for their online service. So I think it's going to basically be the same thing when it comes to the Super Nintendo. And I'm predicting, I guess, that people are going to be surprised if we were to get... Alright, say we get the upcoming Nintendo Direct, and then they say, hey, thank you for subscribing to the NES app and to the Nintendo Switch Online. We're going to be going ahead and giving you Super Nintendo games. I think that we will... Oh man, I missed the chicken bone. Well, it looked like a ham bone. A ham chunk with bone in. But I think Nintendo will say, here you go. It's been a year. You guys have been paying for the Nintendo Switch Online. We were giving you NES games. To top that off, we are going to go ahead and give you Super Nintendo games. And I think we'll get something like A Link to the Past and Super Mario World. Of course, those are the Super Nintendo staples. And those are, of course, Nintendo first-party games. But I think that there's plenty of other Nintendo first-party games that people don't think of or realize when it comes to the Super Nintendo. And so when we start getting less than enjoyable, below par, subpar, just games that some people haven't even seen before, or we get some crappy version of a Japanese Super Famicom game that nobody's ever really seen or heard of, or it was maybe a translation of a Japanese ROM that was brought here in America, but that just kind of went under the radar and that people never really saw or heard. I think people are really gonna act surprised. And so the same narrative is just gonna keep going on, where it's gonna be, okay, now that we have Super Nintendo games, now what we need is Nintendo 64 games. We need Nintendo 64 games. And the crowd of people, the community, will all rally together and say we need Nintendo 64 games. And that'll take place for another year until we get a couple Nintendo games for the Super Nintendo that are less than good, sort of below par games, before people are saying, okay, now we need the GameCube games. And I think it's just going to be the same thing, and I don't think people are really prepared for what we're about to get, because let's face it, the service doesn't cost a lot, so you're not getting a lot. And sure, it's still missing features. I still agree that even if I wouldn't use it, there should be voice chat, a party system. You should, just like the Xbox 360, you should be able to send just a quick text. You should be able to put on a headset, send a audio file to a friend and say, hey, it's party chat time. I'm sending you an invite and we're going to be playing this. Or that you should just be able to, without having to pull out your cell phone and call somebody, or use Skype, or use Discord, you should just be able to hit the middle button here, go up to your friends, and then just be able to just talk with them while you're... And then you should just be able to hit the middle button, select your friend, and then just start talking to them while you're playing whatever game and while they're playing their own game. So I gotta say, this is definitely one of the better games that I've seen in a while. It's been a while. It's been a good 5 months since I actually really cared about any of the games that came to the online here. So I guess that just basically leaves us to the next Nintendo Direct, where hopefully Nintendo will announce something like Super Nintendo games, and for the bum out to begin basically once all over again. So I look forward to that. There will be more, there will definitely be a video on that when the time comes. So for now, I'm basically just gonna cut it here. I'm DDub. If you guys like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you have a little bit of ill will and anger towards Nintendo for their online service and the offerings that come with that, then also hit the like button. I keep dying over and over again. I'm gonna go ahead and die once more. I'll make a bet with you. If I die once more, you have to subscribe to DDub for more videos coming up in the future, just like this. There you go. I died. Hit subscribe now. Slap the like button. I'll catch you guys later.